In most cases where I've invested in the past, I try to find someone who's done it before. I don't want to be necessarily the first one who's done it, but it's always best to talk to someone who's got a history and knows what they're talking about. I think all small business owners have this idea in their head that one day they will, be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor, and whatever your version of relaxing is, just because you're financially stable, you don't have to sell your dental practice. I still enjoy what I do, and it actually makes me want to grow the practice even more. The investments that I have, Freedom Founders and outside, don't come by happenstance. They come from the connections and the relationships that you build.
Time is a huge part of potential growth. And I think for too many people, Cody, and I think, I certainly have been there, and maybe at times in your life you've been there, because, again, we feel like we have to be busy. We need to be doing something, right? And sometimes we feel guilty if we're not doing something, but that time to think, I think, is something that we don't do enough of. And so because you are a visionary and you are very entrepreneurial, you had out, even outside of your practice ownership, you had already been investing, your money in different things, just because you're curious. I mean, I get it. I am too, just curious. So and again, you have a network, you've got people, so you've got contacts, and you find something interesting that somebody's doing, and you like the person, and you think, okay, let's try that and this and that. So you've always been that way. And tell me a little bit about what brought you to Freedom Founders. That was like 3 years ago, 2019. About 3 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, things going well for you, right? I mean, from what I can see, what you've always told me. So what was it that brought you to looking at Freedom Founders, and what were you looking for?
Sure. So I didn't know I was looking for it until it fell in my lap. That's another reason I think that you should always be willing to, explore all options. I was at a dental convention that was just about, it was a broad spectrum, about practice management and, investing and things like that. And I ran into you at one of your lectures at a dental whale conference. And I'd actually signed up for other classes, but when I saw the topic, I just kind of snuck into the room. I don't think I got credit for it, but that's fine. It worked out. So when after I listened to everything, I went out into the hallway and I talked to the young man that was with you, and I said, "Hey man, I just got to get 5 minutes with Dr. Phelps." And you're walking by, and I said, "Hey, my name's Cody Cowan, and I love what I hear. I've dabbled in different investing in real estate in the past. Not always the best way, but I want to learn the right way. And it sounds like you know what you're talking about. So where do I sign up?" Well, then COVID hits, and I think that put everybody into a standstill. But it gave me time to do some more research and due diligence and get my affairs in order, because I knew that this would be a big commitment. And then by the time I did make the decision to attend one of the events the next year in 2020, as a matter of fact, they talk about analysis by paralysis. That's not me. I'm tend to jump in and figure it out later. I would have gone to the first one. The only problem is I'm picky. I wanted to be in person, and it was virtual. And I said, man, it's just not going to be the same experience. I want to meet the people. I want to meet the people behind Freedom Founders. I want to meet the peers the colleagues that are in Freedom Founders. And then, but I realized in the pandemic state, it can't happen. It was a great job. I think you had one in June. So I called and I said, "Hey, look, I'm coming to the September event. Hopefully by then the nation will be opened up." But we all know it wasn't. I wasn't waiting anymore. I said, "You know what? I'll just deal with it. I'll sign in. I'll do the Zoom call." And I think, in the 3-day event, I joined on day 2 and never looked back.
So you're right about needing to do due diligence and check things out. How do you go about that? What's your sense of, again, this is not just for Freedom Founders, but other things you've done, like we talked about your first associateship, and how you had a format for due diligence there, trying to find your practice setting. What's your best test? And I know you and Haley got to do these things together, and I know my wife, has her different test than mine, which is good, right? We both kind of look at things from different angles, and you kind of bring the best together. But how did you and Haley both look at some of the decisions you made, and then, you know, what about, again, Freedom Founders, you know, what made you feel like, okay, this is something I should make a commitment and dig in and do?
Well, I mean, in most cases where I've invested in the past, I try to find someone who's done it before. I don't want to be necessarily the first one who's done it. I have been the first one who's done it, and sometimes it's worked out, and sometimes it has definitely not worked out. But it's always best to talk to someone who's got a history and knows what they're talking about. And then if you've got other people who can validate what that person is saying and can back up with further evidence that, you know, he can talk the talk and walk the walk, I mean, that means a lot.
You recently became what we call free for life in Freedom Founders. Do you want to kind of talk about what that is and kind of the process you went through to get that, and really what does that mean for you?
Sure. I mean, I think all I think all small business owners have this idea in their head that one day they will, you know, be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor and relax. And there's this, you know, picture of you drinking coffee on your porch and playing golf all day, or whatever your version of relaxing is. My wife will tell you, I don't sit still very often. So my version of retirement may be to never necessarily sell the practice. You know, I'm still relatively young. My body doesn't tell me that some days, but I haven't given up clinical practice totally. Do I enjoy the business side of dentistry? Absolutely. I think that it's fun. And I think that free for life for me means I've been blessed enough to have benefited from the investments that I've made to have more freedom of time, freedom with my family, freedom for church and the mission trips we go on, and freedom to design my own schedule in my office, you know? And I think that, you know, my version of freedom doesn't have to be everybody else's version of freedom, but what helps get you there, you know, I won't steal your pyramid discussion, but it means a lot. And when you have financial stability, you can focus on the other things in your life. Doesn't mean you have to give up your financial path. You know, just because you're financially stable or financially independent or financially free, you don't have to sell your dental practice. You know, I still enjoy what I do, and because I can design the time that I spend there better than I could before. It actually makes me want to grow the practice even more. I love the new associate that started working for us. He is a sharp tack, man. And some of the best days that I have are just sharing with him the knowledge that I have of not only dentistry, but practice growth, investing. You know, he asked me just as many questions about how to pull number 16 as he does about where's this Freedom Founder thing? This real estate? Hey, I've actually, you know, I'm out of school. I'm making a little bit of money. What do I do with this IRA money? You know, I get to talk to him about self-directed versus just set it and forget it. You know, and I think there is a giving back portion to that, because if all you did was wake up and play golf every day, that gets real old. And I think that if you enjoy doing this, even in freedom, you're going to keep doing it. But you have the choice to do it or not. And that's what freedom allows you. The free for life pattern for me, what that Freedom Founders specifically gave me, it's the most consistent return and the most consistent base of people to give me knowledge that works that I've ever come in contact with.
So is it the people, or is it the actual investments that make it good for you? What resonates for you? What works?
Well, I would say that, I mean, I'm going to put more weight in the people, man. Your network is your net worth. I mean, you're the one that said that. No truer words spoken. I mean, proof of that. Okay, just to throw this out there, At Free for Life, I could just cruise off into the sunset. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in Freedom Founders. I enjoy the people that I'm making connections with, and I'm sure we'll make more connections in the future. And I mean, the investments that I have, Freedom Founders and outside, don't come by happenstance. They come from the connections and the relationships that you build.
Yeah, Cody, life is not a static situation. You don't just, climb one mountain to get to one degree or to one point in your practice life. It's dynamic. There's always got to be some change and some flux, and ideally it's for the better. I mean, sometimes changes happen to any of us that are not great things, or sometimes they're external that we can't control, but nonetheless it's a dynamic situation. And I think what you've shown to others, certainly what I see in you, is that you've always lived a very dynamic life. You're not settled. As you said, you've always got to be moving, right? That's who you are. You're not going to stay static at all. And I think it really bodes well that you have really worked hard on your community relationships, your network, your people, the people that have invested in you, and how you get to invest back in them, and how that convergence of that network is really the strength of everything in life. I mean, it's everything in life, from personal to business to giving back. It's everything. And I think that's what I love about people like you and Haley and other people that are in our community that believe the same philosophy, that life is not static, it's dynamic. And why would you ever stop wanting to grow? But that growth is your definition, not somebody else's. It's what you want to do with that ability to have that time and make the most of it. Depends on what you want to do. So I'll ask you one more question. Your kids, the world is again, like we just said, things are changing fast. What do you want to impart to your kids? People talk about, legacy and generational wealth, and I want to make sure make sure my kids get a great education and I'll get a good start in life. And maybe, I want to make sure they're the benefactors of some of the wealth that we've been able to create. What's the most important thing that you want your kids to be able to take from you?
Man, that's a really hard question, because we talk about our next and everything, and I'm trying to figure that out right now, because my oldest is 15 and my youngest is 13, and I think they're at a very important age where they can either follow the traditional path, and I'm not saying that doesn't work out for some people, but there's a better path. And if my youngest, who's kind of my I don't know if he's telling me because he thinks I want to hear it or it's true, but he says he wants to be a dentist. I think that's great. College, dental school, I'll hold out, man. Come on, I'll practice one day with you. Whereas my oldest, man, from the day he built his first lemonade stand, showed his entrepreneurial skills. Now, I've already had conversations where college is not the only option, and I love the story of, you and your dad's first capital investment in the first rent home you had. I'd like to be there not only for teaching and encouraging, but also financially in some different capital investments, leaving a legacy. I mean, it's relationships. I want to be close to my kids. If they want to move out to Colorado or West Coast, East Coast, wherever, I mean, now that I'm financially free, I can always come to them.
That's right.
So, I think the next couple of years for us are key. And I kind of want them to figure out for themselves what their next step is going to be. But don't think that I won't take all of the wealth of information that I've gathered from everyone in my life and share that with them. And hopefully that helps shape good decisions for them, because legacy means carrying it on. I mean, I'm not going to be here doing this forever. And I do hope that they continue on the same path that I'm on right now.
Well, Cody, I am sure that they are watching and listening to conversations you have with your friends, colleagues, with your wife, and you are role modeling for them. You are a great leader within your own family, your community, certainly with the church, and probably everybody you touch. So I want to just congratulate you and Haley on the great work that you've done together in building a family that will have definitely a long legacy. Thanks a lot for being here and sharing your story with us today.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I'm honored.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.